In this tutorial, we're going to learn how to use the mapping tool. The main goal of the mapping tool is to help you create links between your 3D objects, 2D piping and instrumentation diagrams, and 1D list of equipment coming from your information system. To do so, open the mapping tool thanks to this icon located on the left panel. Okay, now let's map this vessel here. We start by selecting it in the 3D. The mapping tool window shows us what is mapped with this vessel. Currently, no PNID symbol and no tag. To map it, select Edit Mapping. You can compare it to a shopping cart because now you can add one or more corresponding PNID symbols and one or more corresponding equipment tags. You can check the summary of what you've added in this mapping by looking at the mapping tool window. If you're happy with this, just select Validate. The selected objects in 3D, 2D, and 1D views are now linked together. Selecting the mapped objects in any of the three views allows you to find their equivalent in the two other views. Our patented AI allows you to segment the 3D scan so you can select each individual equipment. Now, if the selection doesn't correspond to the actual equipment, you are able to modify the selection boundaries. For example here, the AI proposition has been to separate the motor of the pump, but I want to group them together, because in my information system I identified it as being a pump unit. I can use the mapping tool to perform this action. First, select the object and click on Edit Mapping in the mapping tool. Depending on the size of the equipment, you can adjust the selection size here. Now you can either add or remove pieces of the equipment by clicking on them. Notice how the mouse pointer displays a plus or minus before you click to let you know if you're about to add or remove pieces from your selection. After validating, you are able to select this entire pump unit in one click. As you are able to adjust your 3D object selection, you can do the same with your PNID symbols. Our algorithm offers you a first proposition by detecting lines and symbols and creates a selectable and mappable overlay. You can edit this overlay by clicking on the pencil icon next to the PNID title. Now you can see and edit every selectable line or symbol by dragging the corners, moving it around. You can also select multiple boxes by clicking on them while maintaining the Control key on your keyboard. Then you can move them around or delete them with the Delete button on your keyboard. If you want to create a selectable box, just click on the rectangle icon on the top right corner and draw it by maintaining your left click. You can also type R on your keyboard to select this rectangle icon. If need be, you can also copy-paste one or more objects at a time by using Ctrl-C and then Ctrl-V on your keyboard. To draw a selectable line, you can use the icon representing a line in the top right corner. Then, use your left click to mark your line angles. When finished, type the Escape key on your keyboard to end the line drawing. To validate your modifications, select the check mark in the bottom right corner. Know that moving or modifying the shape of a selectable object doesn't impact its mapping. As you can see here, after moving this pump's equivalent in the PNID, the mapping is still attached to it. When opening the mapping tool, you may see green highlighted elements in the PNID and in the 3D. What it's actually showing you is everything that is mapped to the currently displayed PNID. Here, if I select the one for the area displayed on the screen, the mapped objects will be highlighted in green. Also, the equipment in the 1D that are mapped to it are also marked with a green link icon. If you need to map a buried or hidden equipment that doesn't appear in the scan, you can use pins in the mapping tool to identify them. First, open the mapping tool. Then, while nothing is selected, click on the Add Pin button. Now you can choose where the pin needs to be with the left click of your mouse. Now, this pin will behave like a usual 3D object that you'd like to map. As seen previously, add the corresponding 2D, 1D, and even choose the right class of equipment for it, and the mapping is done. To delete a pin, select it and open the mapping tool. After clicking on Edit Mapping, click on the red X on the same line as where one pin is written. Validate, and the pin is gone. Notice as the 1D and 2D that were mapped to the pin can remain mapped without any 3D object. Finally, the mapping tool, as you may have seen, also allows you to modify the class of the 3D object that is selected. Now, we can go even further and modify multiple objects class at a time. To do so, first, multi-select them using the Control key on your keyboard and then open the mapping tool. Attention, change the class without clicking on Edit Mapping. If you click on it, it will merge all my currently selected valves into one 3D object. After choosing the right class for my selected valves, they all individually became low valves as expected.